A little bit of an aside on Dhirubhai who'd care to know, because some of you have seen the movie Guru. Many people see that success was driven by his ability to grease the wheels of government, and on balance, it was a negative influence on the nation. There is no question in my mind that Dhirubhai pushed the envelope in a manner that was not ideal for the governance perspective. But the results speak for themselves. In an environment that was exceedingly difficult, license Raj, very difficult to do business in India, Dhirubhai dreamt larger than anyone. He built world-class facilities, provided a platform for modernization, and created immense value for his shareholders. And that should be his legacy. He created something for India that we should all be proud of. Having built ABB Lummers from scratch in India, I knew it was time for me to get out and do something on my own. My dreams hadn't changed, and in 1991, India was at the cusp of economic liberalization. Many of my contemporaries felt that liberalization would be the end of Indian business. I'm not sure how many of you remember the Bombay Club. There was a club actually formed to make sure that India did not get liberalized. These were the Bombay businessmen. They felt that the Indian company, especially the manufacturing and engineering, did not live up to what the Americans and the Europeans would bring, and the Japanese would bring to India. They were not competitive enough. My dream was different. I knew that the Indian engineering talent was comparable to the best in the world. I set about to prove it. During the years that I came to India, just before, for my US company in the 80s, I used to regularly go and meet with a number of government officials. A real powerful lot in those days. They were the czars. With a missionary zeal, I would always ask them, what can I do for you? What can I do for India? And typically, you got pushed around here and there, but you got nothing with them. But however, I met a czar of the Indian electronic industry, well known. He is a destroyer of the Indian electronic industry, but nevertheless, he did me a favor. He took credit actually for sending out IBM out of India, and he was very proud of it. He was not able to procure certain components that Mrs. Gandhi had wanted for her to build the largest color television network in India at that time. And India was on the banned list of the United States, which I didn't know. Without understanding the problems of what he really meant, I offered to help him, and he gave me the list of electronic components, and he said, if you can do this for me, you would be a hero. So I promptly started trying to find them in the US and Europe. My wife roped in, helped in. And about 3 weeks, I could source them all in the US. This was all new to me, and however, when I saw an immediate opportunity and a possibility to help India and achieve something, we worked day and night to make sure that it happened. I also took a decision to buy, then with all my savings that I had from Iraq, about $45,000, I took every penny of it and decided to buy these components. I did not know the rules of India. It was almost my undoing at that point. My next trip was coming, and I packed all these incredibly sophisticated electronic parts into suitcases, and I traveled to India with a couple of my bosses, and the customs did not stop me, and I breezed through that customs. Next morning, I walked into the czar of electronic industry. I went to his office. In those days, there was no security outside, so I took the 2 boxes, those 2 heavy 35-kilo boxes. I went and dumped it in his room, waiting for him to come. And when he did arrive, I told him that I had brought everything that he needed. The man had a cigar in his mouth, and the cigar dropped. He didn't know what the hell hit him at that point. This is the first time that somebody had delivered something to him without even his getting the approvals from the all and sundry that he needed to get an approval for. In any event, he installed 50 transmitters throughout India based on what I brought him. And he was hailed as a hero by Mrs. Gandhi and the Congress Party. So when I asked for my money, however, he said, I'm sorry, I can't give any of that to you because you violated every law of India. You smuggled electronic components and you brought it to India. I don't believe that I can do anything for you as far as that money is concerned. But what he did do the next day, he sent out telexes to nearly 35 electronic companies in India that were manufacturing for him, told all the procurement managers to turn up for a meeting 2 days hence, and basically ordered them, being the czar he was, he ordered them to order anything that they needed to order from the United States or Europe from me. Over the next 10 years, between 82 and 92, I delivered $30 million worth of components needed for the Indian defense and communication sector. Small act of idiotic behavior on my part to spend my money, this is what I got in return. While I was working in India for ABB Lummus, they also allowed me to start a company here called IDEA. It still runs in Chennai. It's called International Development and Engineering Associates. I took a company from about 10-15 people. I grew it to about 600 people. I converted it into one of the biggest process engineering companies in this country. And we finally sold the company to Deutsche Babcock, but the success story is not to be missed. Lummus took all the services out of this 600 people that we had here at $25. They were selling it at $25 an hour, and we were selling to them at $7 an hour. They made $18 cool profit. Every man hour that we gave to them, they actually made about $15 to $20 million during that period. But what is more important for me is the fact that I'd created 600 world-class engineers, and this became the very first outsourcing company out of India. During 1992 to 2003, I focused on taking over companies, and that could be termed as bankrupt. I had other partners in it, but I put together a management team and collaboratively did a management turnaround. Among these were two automotive companies, Hydraulics and Renowned Auto Products. These are two companies that were manufacturing ride control products, shock absorbers, McPherson struts, and front fork for motorcycles. We essentially invested a small amount of money, and over the next few years we made it into a powerhouse, so that in a few years I was able to sell this company to a multinational, because the Indian automobile industry was burgeoning at that time, and we were able to sell it to them at a price unheard of even in today's terms. Then I was involved in the turnaround of India Meters, a manufacturer of electric equipment which came out of licensing from Japan. But then what is more important is that we built for General Electric a three-phase meter out of India, which even today General Electric sells globally. It was a technology developed in India using foreign chip, programmed in India, all the software written in India, perfected in India for the global markets. I also dreamt of India as a rural India, and I felt that rural India would be a place to create viable businesses. I continue to believe so, although I have exited that business at some point in time. I personally believe the real money in India is to be made in rural India. So we discovered a company called Kaveri Sugars, which is no longer competitive. Over a period of 5 years, we worked in partnership with nearly 100,000 farmers, unions and local society to modernize and transform the company and make it cost competitive again. We built the largest palm oil plantation in the same areas of Tiruchi and Tanjavur, and Kaveri Sugars is now part of EID Parry, and Kaveri palm oil is now part of the Godrej Group. Throughout the 90s, in total, my organization invested in six different manufacturing and agricultural businesses, all of them economically uncompetitive. We turned around these businesses and made them competitive in a global marketplace. Today, it is assumed that Indian companies are globally competitive, and we had to prove it the hard way at that time. In 2003, we turned to technology and for creating two technology powerhouses out of India. Indian IT services and BPO companies have a reputation of being large processing factories for low-end application maintenance. I don't believe this does justice to the talent of our engineers, and so I firmly believe that in some way, just as Japan changed its perception from being a low-cost, low-end manufacturing economy to high-technology economy, we could transform the services business in India. So in 2003, I exited from all the turnarounds, every business that we had, and pledged the last penny that I have to start building the next generation technology company. This is probably the greatest risk that I've ever taken. This is bigger risk than anything that I did with buying the electronic components. Globalization, global growth, incredible processing capabilities have all resulted in incredible data being generated. The intelligence embedded in this data will drive the future and the industrial success and the growth. My workforce has built deep domain understanding of security, defense, communication, life sciences, healthcare, and manufacturing technologies. And I see significant growth in these areas. Big data is changing the paradigm by which the technology services industry works, and the large incumbents do not have the flexibility to adapt. My technology services venture, Idea Technologies, is committed to using Indian technology talent to create high-end, mission-critical, customized solutions by globally leveraging big data analytics. This is headquartered out of San Jose. Secure Earth is a brand under which we are building all our ventures. The ventures are built around an incredible team of technologists and domain specialists. Each team member has a stake in the business, and we'll grow the business from the current $200 million at a 40% compounded annual growth rate for a foreseeable future. I'm personally focused on building a healthcare practice that allows capturing every medical data under a single unique identification number, which will allow public health practitioners and hospitals to provide more efficient care. We have now presented a project in China that we hope this will get implemented. This is for capturing all the data of all the children, starting from pregnancy to 18. I'm also focused on defense and security of India, and will continue to invest in my personal time in building leading software capabilities to service this area. This is particularly relevant due to the serious geographic vulnerability of India. Some of the lessons learned, which I thought would be useful for all of you, I did put some of my thoughts on a slide as to what an entrepreneurship is. The way I've defined it is, it's pursuing opportunity without being restricted by currently available resources. I think if you were to restrict yourself to resources, you'll never build an enterprise at this point in time or any point in time. So some of the ideas that I believe are required to be an entrepreneur, I've captured it here. And also, I've defined who could be an entrepreneur. So I'll come to that a little later, but some of the lessons that I learned is something that I thought I would share with you. It's been a long journey, it's been a hard journey, it's not an easy journey, it's not for the faint-hearted. The consistent theme that I want to emphasize is that entrepreneurship is built on dreams. To build companies in an entrepreneurial setting, you are perpetually confronted with the risk of failure. You wake up in the morning and you think that you're going to fail. The success when it happens is wonderful, but fleeting, and you have to constantly adapt or die. But the risk of not being competitive, of running out of money, of losing that huge contract, of the markets going into a downturn is always with you.